Alright, quick question. Why and how do people get roped into conspiracy theories? While they've likely been around for centuries, conspiracy theories have become an increasingly hot topic in the age of social media. It seems like more people than ever are getting roped into believing stories that completely defy rational and logical thinking. Worse yet are the toll they take on people's relationships with friends and loved ones. And what's even more dangerous are the violent and deadly acts that many of these theories drive people to commit. So how does someone go from reading a thread on Reddit or 8chan to storming into a pizza restaurant armed to the teeth? And better yet, what can we do if someone in our orbit starts talking about how vaccines are secretly putting 5G trackers that cause cancer in our arms? And most importantly of all, how can you keep yourself from falling down such a rabbit hole? To understand this phenomenon, we've got to break down a number of contributing factors. First and foremost, there are roots in human psychology. I don't know if you checked social media or the news for the past 20 years or so, but the world is a scary, chaotic, and very unjust place. From terrorist attacks to global recessions to our own planet trying to kill us, our screens are regularly reminding us that there are so many things out there that can completely upend our lives with little to no warning. And the vast majority of them are things we have virtually no control or influence over. Those moments of powerlessness and uncertainty activate a part of the brain called the amygdala, which regulates fear, aggression, and social learning. While we are still getting to know how this part of the brain works, we're fairly certain that one thing it does is to jumpstart your brain into a sort of analytical overdrive, where it fixates on information until it can create a coherent, understandable explanation for what happened. And that makes sense. If you find yourself in a painful or distressing situation, the natural tendency will be to analyze how you ended up in that situation and what you can do to avoid having it happen again. And since humans are natural pattern seekers, we're all prone to perceiving a pattern even when it isn't there. But why do some of us shrug off these sneaking suspicions while others start making tinfoil hats? As it turns out, there are certain traits that experts say make a person more likely to form or buy into a false explanation. People with more cynical worldviews, for instance, tend to be more prone to thinking that people are out to get them. People who are more socially isolated are more inclined to buy into thinking that goes against the norm. And people with low degrees of self-esteem, especially as it relates to their ability to control their own lives, are more inclined to try and find someone to blame for their powerlessness. A conspiracy theory can be enticing in those situations because it gives back a sense of agency to the powerless person. A secret, powerful, sinister organization makes for a great boogeyman.
This isn't just like human trafficking, this is espionage.
And by believing that you're on to them, it can make you feel like you have the upper hand.
They got the news media. That's why they've been pumping the junk in you to think you're the minority. But we're the majority, baby!
Buying into a conspiracy theory can also make you feel special, like you alone possess knowledge that can defeat the evildoers and save the world.
What is the plan? It's to save the world.
And the second you meet someone who validates those beliefs that make you feel good, you become more susceptible to confirmation bias, which is a tendency that all people have to seek out information that reinforces what we believe and reject information that contradicts it.
I don't believe that for a minute, because none of us feel that way.
Then we add social platforms into the mix, whose main goal is to produce content and interactions that keep you engaged and coming back. And those platforms make it oh so easy for these beliefs to spread, even through someone who is just sharing a conspiracy theory to mock or ridicule it. And once a person buys into one conspiracy theory, they are that much more likely to buy into others. But here's the real tricky thing. There are some conspiracies that turn out to be true. Watergate, NSA wiretapping, the Tuskegee experiments, MK Ultra. All of these are true stories that would sound insane if they hadn't been proven with evidence. So how can you separate the sane from the stupid? The first rule should hopefully be a bit obvious. Check the source. It is true that there is no such thing as an unbiased source. Just ask any reporter. But that same reporter will tell you that a biased source does not mean that you need to discard the information. What hard evidence is there? Are there other sources that corroborate? Do the motivations make sense? But no matter what the source, there are two rules of thumb that can help reliably indicate the likelihood that a conspiracy theory is BS. And spoiler alert, most of them are. Rule 1, how many people have to be in on it? The thing about a conspiracy is that it has to take place in secret, and we live in a time when most people are running around with a device in their pocket that can record images and video and then broadcast them to the world. Every person involved is another leak waiting to happen, especially when posts can go viral and news stories can break in a matter of minutes. All it takes is for one link in the chain to break, the entire jig is up, which is why the more links there are in the chain, the more likely it is to fail. So the likelihood that, say, hundreds of Satan-worshipping Hollywood elites are secretly sacrificing babies in order to stay young is virtually non-existent, especially since news and social media would be all over a distraught parent whose baby had been kidnapped. Rule 2. Does this conspiracy only benefit the rich and powerful? If the premise is that powerful people are acting in secret, then the implication is that they would need to do so because they're acting solely in their own interest and at the cost of everyone else. Otherwise, why go through all that effort? That is why it doesn't make sense, for instance, to hide the fact that the Earth is flat. Or, let's say that someone had already found the cure for cancer but was hiding it to continue funding for research and such. Only thing is, wealthy and powerful people are still dying of cancer. So why would they deliberately keep this secret miracle cure away from those who would undoubtedly pay the most for it? Again, it doesn't make sense. So do us all a favor and think twice, or even 3 and 4 times, before sharing a story that seems outrageous. And if you're that determined to be in the know, we've got you covered.
If there's any topic out there that's got you scratching your head and you're too scared to ask, you should totally send it our way. Tweet using the hashtag #QuickQuestion or email us at questions@brainjoltmedia.com. Don't forget to follow us, and remember, quick questions don't always have quick answers.